What's up? Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I'm Morrow, your storyteller for today. With me I have some more RPG horror stories. I got a question for people that play D&D or really any TTRPGs with their group. Do you guys host any sort of like Halloween spookathon or like any sort of spooky games with a spooky theme? I've tried it before. Some original ideas here and there about being in a mysterious house that changes all the time. I had Micah actually help me DM for it. We needed 2 DMs for this just to make sure it works just right. But I'm thinking I should probably run something as well, like even with my players and with my group. We have a lot of players anyway, and pretty sure a lot of them are down to clown with some sort of spooky stuff going on. We'll see how to ask them and see what kind of things they want to do. But in the meantime, let's get some RPG horror stories for today. The time I played Fatal. Now, before I go into this, I think some of y'all mentioned about the game Fatal before in comments below, way back in some videos. I vaguely remember it, but let me Google Fatal just in case. Fatal, an acronym, Fantasy Adventure to Adult Lechery, 1st edition, From Another Time, Another Land, 2nd edition, is a dark fantasy tabletop role-playing game first published in 2002 by Fatal Games. Ah, right, I think it's the one y'all mentioned before in the comments below. It's the sexy adult RPG game. Interesting. I don't think I've ever seen an RPG horror story about this. Let's find out together what it's about. Way back in my game store days, my younger brother and I ended up hearing about TTRPG that was on a lot of people's blacklist. It was called Fatal. Now on the surface, Fatal is a fantasy RPG that has a great deal of adult themes. It's infamous for its content, including widespread sexuality, especially for a non-consensual variety. And the character sheet is really something else. It has provisions for the size and circumference of your character's sexual organs. This is important because it's something that's inserted, so to speak. You need to make a kind of saving throw to avoid taking damage. Wait, are you telling me that I need to make a save to avoid penetration damage? Oh boy. I need to see that character sheet. I'm curious, wildly curious. Alright, I know what sub this is, so I'm sure that all of you guys have seen enough crap on here that it's probably worse, but it's still incredibly awkward to talk about it. Fatal is essentially a TTRPG built entirely around acting out struggle snuggle fantasies. Going to rip the band-aid off right now. So one night, my brother says that we should try playing it for the lols. I remember telling him that I didn't think anybody would actually want to play. He downloads a PDF of the rulebook, prints it off, and lists 2 more players, his girlfriend and my girlfriend respectively. We do a cursory read over the rules, and we do rock, paper, scissors to try to find out who the hell is going to be running this. And as it so happens, my girlfriend ends up being the winner. Or rather, a loser, because none of us actually wanted to run this. The 3 of us players put together characters and share some immature giggles about some of the stats, and my girlfriend finds a pre-written intro adventure on the internet with some sort of auto-battle chart where the GM can randomly roll for the type of actions enemies do. It turns out to be a bad idea. So the way this intro adventure was written, the player characters are being forced to work in a mine by Kobold captors. The characters are intended to raise a revolt and escape to the surface. We'll put together our characters, and the module says we can start with no equipment, needing to improvise weapons and such. Our characters were explained as being cruel and hedonistic. Right, a kobold revolt where you have nothing to your name except improvised weapons and maybe sharp rock you found somewhere along the way. In a game that's all about a struggle snuggle, as a mechanic I guess. This can only bode terribly. My girlfriend looks up from the printer module and says to my brother's girlfriend, "Are you absolutely sure you want to try this?" We'll explain we would give it for the old college try. So she opens up the adventure and we're in a mine. My character has a pickaxe, and the best thing that I can think to do is to attack one of the kobolds with it to get the revolt started. Of course, I miss. My girlfriend rolls the auto battle chart for the counterattack. What follows is a very short, awkward silence before my girlfriend looks at me and raises her eyebrows. How, do you want me to do this? Well, what does the chart say? We'll just do it by the book. My girlfriend takes a deep breath, looks me straight in the eye, and says to me, and this is an exact quote, "The kobold shoves his peen up your butt. Roll an anal circumference check." Whoa! Whoa! That is fast. It went from a missed attack to straight up banging. I'm laughing because it's just absurd, but also it's just, what the hell am I reading? This is smut. This is definitely gonna get demonetized by YouTube. The room was silent for a moment, and then my brother and his girlfriend burst out laughing. I asked my girlfriend if that's actually what the chart says, and she shows it to me. Sure enough, that is exactly what it says. I was being sodomized by the guy I tried attacking, but at least I made the check. Admittedly, it was sort of funny in a very juvenile way, but the humor lost all of its velocity when over the next several minutes they pissing auto battle chart gangbanged our characters and resized all of our holes. Eventually, my girlfriend decided to stop using it. We force ourselves through what eventually becomes a straightforward combat, and we move on. Try not to revisit that situation. We begin to try to fight our way toward the surface, but eventually my girlfriend stops reading a descriptive passage and starts to skip through the module. Then she sighs. What is it this time? I asked. She shakes her head. This here is trying to encourage you guys to defeat enemies by struggling them. Every character has more detailed conditions for sexually assaulting enemies and enslaving them than straight up killing them. We sit there silent for a moment, then my girlfriend flips the printout around and shows me the description of one of the encounters. I take the packet, flip through it, then I toss it in the kitchen trash barrel. I think that thing that bothered all of us the most was the fact that the core game mechanic weren't fun enough to play, even if you decided to ignore the sexual debauchery. I don't want to look into the game. I don't want to find out if the mechanics are lacking complexity. I'm a little curious, but I'm not that curious to actually go find a printout for it. If the game is just not for you, the game is not for you. If this kind of thing and butthole circumference is not your thing that you really want to care for or roll saving throws for, then that's fine. That's okay. I think I'll abstain from butthole circumference saving throws personally. Anyway, to cleanse our minds, how about we do a Vampire the Masquerade story? It could be worse, it could be better, I don't know, but I need a little bit of a brain cleanser. Vampire the Masquerade V5, constant failure and false accusations. I'll try to keep this as straightforward as possible. I forgot places like this existed until my friend brought it up, and I believe the story is very fitting and could serve as a warning to others to be wary of who you play with. I was playing a game of Vampire the Masquerade V5 with 3, later 4 other players, and our storyteller. We're all strangers to one another, mine is a storyteller and one of their friends. I refer to the storyteller as ST, as the friend is SF. I'm gonna go with storyteller and story friend. I was in a bad place in life and wanted to try getting back into group role-playing and allow Vampire the Masquerade themes and strong advocacy towards discussion and consent, which were horrendously overlooked, as you will soon see. In session 0, everyone agreed that misunderstandings would be cleared up, consent would be honored, and character death would be discussed, not sprung on us. This was my very first exposure to playing VTM, and I made a very fresh character, embracing for hardly a year and abandoned by his sire, but found by Camarilla and strictly trained under their guidance. He was meant to earn his worth before they decide whether to dispose of him or not. Anyways, the game began and a couple of sessions later, he made a mistake that immediately looked iffy towards a masquerade, rolled a crit or bestial failure, I don't remember anymore. And Storyteller's friend stepped in and fixed it with a character agreement that my character would follow their lead and be more careful from then on out. Later down the road, my character's touchstone became entwined with Storyteller's friend and their own touchstone a bit through plot and story, and my character snuck around to get a hold of them to make sure they were safe before confronting Storyteller's friend's character. Friend's character accused them of keeping secrets and lying. Sure, I guess, because he totally should have told you the scary Tamiz Ancilla, I'm mispronounced completely, who his touchstones were, even as he literally only found out about her connection himself within the last 24 hours. It gave him the ultimate of blood bond to his character, although kill his touchstone. Right, I gotta be honest, I don't know what a touchstone is, so we're gonna go ahead and read it here on the Wikipedia. However, it is from Vampire the Requiem, so I don't know if that's the correct thing or not, but touchstone is a connection of vampires' requiem to the mortal world. Most touchstones are humans, but they can also be places or objects. A touchstone challenges the vampire's values and forces him to face his true nature. This has generally positive effects on the Requiem, even when the vampire has to face tribulation because of it. The vital part of vampire's connection to his humanity, and vampires without a touchstone tend to succumb to the beast more easily, feeling the pull of torpor in his mind. Right, so it's basically like their humanity-esque connection between the bestial connection, whether they go full feral or whether they're calm, I guess. Alright, well, that's what we know. That's good to know. The storyteller stopped us there as we were at the end of the session, and it was a good break for suspense and discussion. Though it was an interesting position, but told them out of character that a blood bond wouldn't be necessarily, as my character is loyal and will do what he is told. I wasn't given any alternatives, but I wanted to protect the touchstone, of course, and ended up agreeing that a level 1 bond could be fun. I tried over the week to discuss the bounds of the blood bond with the other players with no success. They did not engage, told the storyteller about it, and expressed my doubt, but they didn't say much on it, and so agreed I'd still go through with it, as it could still be fun, but just to level 1. Big mistake. Right, so basically 2 character storylines are connected. One made a little oopsie doopsie and the other character is covering for them, but they apparently have to make a blood bond to make sure that, I guess, safety measures are instilled. And I'm guessing the blood bond is a way to, I'm assuming, but I'm guessing it's a way for a blood bond for one vampire or one character to control the other character, or at least to stop them in their tracks in case something needs to happen. Maybe, I don't know, some sort of a bond that basically allows them partial control of the other character. If it's at level 1, as long as it's nothing too intense or too weird going on, I think it's okay. But it's weird that the other player is not engaging or talking about, like, the discussion behind the blood bond itself. I don't know, it's weird. Either way, let's continue. We continue into the next session with the agreement of going into 1 level of a bond, but my character would try to negotiate alternatives. Friend on their character would not budge or even discuss alternatives. This is where my feelings about the situation got bad, and the friend decided he wanted to ramp it up to level 3, despite the rules of needing to do it over a 3-day period. I told him in and out of character that I did not want that, but his character used compel on mine and forced him to drink to level 3, thus thralling him in 1 long drink. I was annoyed, but didn't think much of it. It was just a game, and I trusted the storyteller wouldn't let anything bad come of it. So the game went on, with my character absolutely enthralled and emotionally confused about his place and purpose, as I figured the whole thing was a mess in his mind. He wasn't adapting well. I told him out of character both before and after the bond that my character isn't going to handle the bond well, and is an emotional mess, and the bond will exasperate it, but nothing was said back to me. The game went on. Friend's friend cuddled and used sex as a reward for my character and played with him like a little servant. He was enamored. None of this was ran by me beforehand. I just roll with it because whatever. Why are you just rolling whatever? Your character is not being used for some sort of sexual pleasure for somebody else's character. I would feel like that'd be kind of a crossing the boundaries, crossing the whole consent lines, because now your character is no longer in control and just being used as like a sex puppet, I guess. I don't know. It's really weird. The fact that you're not saying, hold on, pump the brakes, I didn't consent to any of this, what is going on here? And have like a conversation with your storyteller is just weird. Even said in the beginning, like, consent is key for that sort of thing. Consent is important, and suddenly they just what goes out of the window? Storyteller and their friend are probably onto something. I don't know what, but I don't like it. Let's continue. I just roll with it because whatever. My character wouldn't say no, and I'll take willpower to do so, and it could piss off the character who had threatened to kill his best friend if he didn't do as she said. Meanwhile, she was also giving him the cold shoulder here and there, and he didn't like that. As the friend happened to dominate most of our direction and both me and my character were still learning, I wasn't sure what to do with my character as he was looking for purpose within the Camarilla. Thought she was now the answer. I figured, well, he didn't talk to me before doing anything, so he must have gone through the storyteller? Maybe that's how I should do it too? So before any incoming session, I told the storyteller that my character wanted to blood bond with friend's character to even things out. I got no response. The fact that you're getting no response from the storyteller is very concerning. I feel like you're being completely ignored for the sake of their own fun, because they are having fun. It's storyteller's game, and the storyteller's friend gets priority maybe. I'm not sure what's going on. Are the other players not weirded out by this whole thing? It's really strange. It's really strange. I feel like you should have gone louder, be like, yo, hello, storyteller. Something's weird going on here. I didn't consent to this. What's going on? Communicate with me. At times, you just gotta go loud. Like, if you have moments in the game where you're literally being ignored, the best thing to do is either leave or just go loud as hell until somebody has to respond to you. Because it doesn't feel fair for you just to be like, hey, I wanted to change something. Oh, you're not gonna respond to me? Okay, well, I guess I'll just sit around, just continue with the game like normal, because apparently this is normal. Which, I gotta be honest, it's not normal. There should be communication, whatever TTRPG you're playing, between players and your DM, GM, storyteller, whoever you are. There should be communication. If there's a breakdown in communication, then how can you really enjoy a game? Alright, well, the game is starting, so let's go, I guess. I assume she'll pause the game at the end and leave us to discuss options over the week. At the end of the session, as things were winding down, I had my character approach Friend, and I told him out of character that mine wanted to entrance them as they wanted the bond. Friend said, well, now's your chance, which I thought was odd. I was hoping for more discussion, but they didn't discuss anything with me, so I guess that's how we go. So I rolled to entrance and passed, and I could feel tension building up even a week before this point, where my anxiety was telling me something bad was going to happen. Things get blurry from there because I began to have an anxiety attack as things came to a head. I remember them saying something along the lines of, okay, he's dead, or okay, I'm going to kill him. Kill him because you said yeah? What? What is going on here? What is happening here? I remember storyteller stopping us for a moment as I tried to explain what my character wanted to do. This is where my anxiety screws me over as I freaked out and said he just wanted to make love and have his way, which sounds a hella bad, even as I said it, and even to this day. But things proceed anyway, and I vaguely remember the storyteller beginning to narrate that my character takes her by the hand and heads toward the bedroom. But by this point, I was almost in full panic and felt like nobody could hear me. Story's friend claimed that my character was snuggling his character. I explained that it wasn't at all what I meant, nor what me or the character wanted. The friend said something about this going against the game and that this is snuggle and it's breaking the game's tenet, and therefore he gets a reroll. So he rerolled his dice again and beat my original roll and flipped everything around so that his character bit into mine, it was going to diabolarize him. That's what the session finally stopped. We finally stepped out of character and I explained again that my character only wanted a bond and that this isn't at all what I was looking for. The talk seemed like it went alright. I was shaken, and the friend said he is not the kind of person to just do what his character would do, so we discussed possible solutions. The other players were quiet. I was a mess. I didn't sleep that night, but I thought we'd resolve it and move on. If this is so stressful to you that you can't even sleep, I think you just honestly need to back out of the game. Listen, if the game is making you so stressed out because you have to second guess your decisions for your player character, because obviously you're not being helped with on what exactly is going on around the game, and you just want to kind of get the general gist of it, but it's so anxiety inducing, I don't think it's worth it, pal. I genuinely don't think it's even worth playing this sort of game. Dude, this is a mess. This is a mess. The storyteller doesn't have the grip on the entire situation whatsoever. And instead of conversing and discussing, okay, so what do you mean by that? What do you want to do? What are your intentions as a player character? They just assume, okay, it's going to be snuggle situation because that's what I'm reading, interpreting, instead of communicating with you. This game is a mess. Like, I get it if you want to try Vampire the Masquerade, but you could go to a different group entirely. This is a disaster. This is a disaster. I've no other words. This is a disaster. You should have left. Should have played with somebody else. But as all disasters go, let's finish it and see if it gets any worse. I have a hypothesis that it will. When morning came, Storyteller had an easy fix that didn't even require retconning or hard feelings. I actually really appreciate her willingness and creativity in resolving this issue. But Friend snapped and said it was unacceptable, that I deserved to be punished. And some very close-ended discussion in private between me, Storyteller, Friend, and Friend threatened that if I wasn't appropriately punished that he would leave the game. And then the chat ended shortly after, completely closed and could not be read anymore. Another player who was previously supportive and said basically, hey, don't worry about it. We'll accidentally say some things that come out wrong and we don't really mean, it's okay. Said in the group chat later, they couldn't abide either by allowing me to steal character autonomy from Friend and were also considering dropping. I explained again that I wasn't what I was trying to do, but it felt like nobody believed me or was hearing me. I did agree to ditch the character though, as the entire situation was extremely uncomfortable and I felt terrible for causing it. Just wanted to play and I felt like I'd ruined it for everybody. I guess the lesson here is if you are saying things in an awkward way, maybe it might be good to consider about how you want to phrase things, right? Because if everybody is misconstruing that you just wanted to snuggle another character as your character, then yeah, that's a really monkey situation. At the same time, you didn't say a bond at the same time. The wording specifically from your OP should have been a little bit more on the clear side to clarify that this is not an attempt to snuggle, I just want to have a bond, and that's it. I don't know, man, this game is just too much of a mess. I don't even know if I'm making sense, dude. The more I try to read through this, the more I feel like my mind is getting muddied. I tried to re-engage with jokes and just staying light, and then friend jumped in again and typed out a message thanking everyone for supporting them against me when my character tried to struggle snuggle theirs, and that was it for me. I was already in full anxiety mode and felt another attack coming up, so I left the server to calm down. Told storyteller I wasn't comfortable. I wasn't sure I should go back, and I got the response for basically, it's okay, you'll find another game, just give it time. I figured, well, at least we're all in the other game together and I can have fun there. Yeah, nah. One of the other players who ran another game removed me silently a couple of days later or so. I don't remember exactly, as since the first night things went down, I didn't eat or sleep for about 8 days because my anxiety was so bad from the whole ordeal. I wanted to talk to the group and clear the air, but I couldn't handle the anxiety of it, and I could tell the storyteller very much didn't want me to. I wanted to get into the toll it took on my mental health for the following 2.5 years. I'm in therapy now, so I guess I can thank them all for that much. If any of y'all come across this, even though you never spoke to me again, at least now you know the gist of what actually happened. I don't blame anyone for not knowing that none of what happened with my character was consensual, but I'm disappointed that nobody cared to find out. At this point, nothing can change or fix what happened, but to anyone else who finds themselves in an iffy and uncomfortable position, trust your gut. No game is worth staying in if you can't trust, understand, or compromise with one another. In the beginning of this session, something specific I pointed out, I'm gonna read it verbatim. In session 0, everyone agreed that misunderstandings would be cleared up, consent would be honored, and character death would be discussed, not sprung us. Now, there was no character death here, but the two other things are definitely very apparent, and I think that's the biggest reason why things just broke down in communication. Misunderstandings were never cleared up. This whole game, I mean, the post itself makes it seem like, at least, that there was just a huge mess where there was just misunderstanding after misunderstanding after misunderstanding, and nothing was ever cleared up. It's about as clear as fucking mud at this point, dude. Clear as mud. And I feel like it's an onus onto storyteller as the person that is basically, coordinating the entire game and set up the rules initially to clear this sort of things up, and they didn't. They didn't clear up jack shit. It was just absolutely confusing after confusion after confusion. I just feel suffocated just thinking about this whole situation. Dude, I'll be like, no, this is too much. I'm just done. I'm not interested. Like, I'm just frustrated trying to understand the clarity and trying to understand where things are even clear, because everything is so goddamn confusing in this situation. But also, consent wasn't honored when your character was basically bonded to another character to serve as a servant. Consent was never honored, and you would never ask for consent if you would want to do that for their character. You just kind of pushed into it and then expedited to become a bond level 3, so your character could just be puppeteered. So we have a complete misunderstanding of everything going on, and we have consent not being honored as well. This game was doomed from the very beginning. If they said misunderstanding is going to be cleared, you have to clear it. If consent needs to be honored, you have to honor it. If none of that's been happening, you got to bring it up to the GM storyteller and say, what the hell is going on? Why isn't any of this done already? All the stuff you have to go through for this game, OP, is just not worth it. It's just not worth it. I say, forget about it. Out of sight, out of mind. Never think about it again. Maybe, I don't know, talk with your friends and find a group that's not going to be doing this. And the worst part is, all storyteller had to do was communicate. If you can't communicate, things become unclear. And then at that point, like, yeah, of course the game becomes a mess because nothing is clear. And with that, that's going to be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thank you so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales Tomorrow. Bye-bye.